Hello everybody, 2015 here, and today we're going to be talking about something that was extremely important to many people before the coronavirus pandemic and has become even more so these last 6 months, and that is home internet. More specifically, the problems people typically have with their home internet and how I've set up my network to make sure these problems are kept to a minimum, if not eradicated. Before the coronavirus pandemic hit, home internet was largely overlooked as adults were at work all day and the kids were in school, so there was really no need for a fast, low-latency internet connection in the home. The most use it would get was for watching Netflix in the evening, which only requires about 5 megabits per second of download speed if you watch at 1080p. Which is why when the coronavirus pandemic did come along and many were sent home from work and schools quickly pivoted to remote learning, many home internet connections struggled to keep up with all this newfound demand, and you might be surprised to hear that most of the struggling wasn't on the internet service providers' networks, but actually in the homes themselves. Most people just kept using the router they get from their ISP when they buy internet service, and this is okay for a little while, but you need more than about 5 devices connected to these things at a time. They typically start to become a bottleneck, and that's before you have everyone trying to be on a different Zoom call at the same time. As it turns out, these issues are easily fixed, and I upgraded this house's internet equipment toward the end of 2019, and we've had almost no issues, even with both my mom and dad working from home since March. The issues we have had were easily fixed in 10 minutes at most. It's been great. That being said, let's take a look at our speeds and latency. So what I'm going to say right out the gate is if your ISP gives you the option of a business internet package, take it. I cannot stress this enough. Now, of course, service options vary from provider to provider, but we have Cox's 100 megabit per second business internet plan, and we can typically get about 110% of the advertised bandwidth. We have a static IP address, which is extremely useful if you want to set up a game or file server in your home. And we get a separate business support phone number, which we don't end up calling nearly as much as we did the residential one. Speaking of the residential plan, we paid for 150 megabits per second download, and we were lucky to get 75. It was even worse during the evening hours, which for most people is when they need the internet in their homes. It's surprising how much a difference having a business internet connection can make. Of course, getting the internet from your ISP to your house is just half the battle. And between 2 devices inside your home, the package you pay for from your ISP does not matter at all, and your connection speed is as fast as the slowest thing it needs to pass through. May it be a router, network switch, Wi-Fi access point, or a computer's network interface card that it uses to send and receive data. We have a 1 gigabit per second network switch in our house, and over any one of the 14 Ethernet ports we have dotted around, we can transfer files at 850 to 900 megabits per second. That brings us to Wi-Fi, where if we're sitting on our couch with a line of sight to the access point, we can transfer files wirelessly at about 300 megabits per second over the wireless AC or Wi-Fi 5 standard. These speeds are achieved by not having any limiting factors, such as an old router, cheap, slow network switch, or an access point that only supports a standard that's like 5 to 10 years old. I have a 1 gigabit per second network card installed on the computer that I use as my home server. And we have 1 gigabit per second equipment, but we have Cat6 Ethernet cabling, which can go up to 10 gigabits per second up to about 50 meters, which is perfectly enough for our 1,300 square foot house. Meaning we could multiply the maximum speed of our network by 10 times just by upgrading a couple of networking devices. Now let's talk about the biggest problem with most people's home internet connections, Wi-Fi range. Our Wi-Fi range sucked before the upgrade, to the point where in my bedroom in the corner of the house I was only able to pull about 30 megabits per second over wireless connections, which was problematic when I had friends over and 2 to 4 people were trying to use all the Wi-Fi in here at once. And if you wanted to use the Wi-Fi outside, well, there were pretty much no options for you. We have block walls except for on the front side of our house, so even now it's hard to get signal outside. I get 20 megabits per second in the middle of the street through that wooden spot on the front of the house, so when you're not trying to go through the solid block, our range is great. Now I know what you're probably thinking. All this fancy equipment must cost thousands of dollars, right? Well, actually no. We spent about $500 on our entire network, and we were going pretty much all out. You can get a pretty decent networking setup for your home for under $200. So, in the next video I'm going to be going over how we achieved this, what we bought, and how easy it is to set up. I'll put the link down in the description when that video comes out, so be sure to subscribe for that. Anyways, if you guys have enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, do put them below in the comments section, and I'll try to answer them. Anyways, have a nice day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.